Hello there. This is Eben, and you're live with me on Dreams Consult online tuition program. Today, we want to take a look at some useful tips and strategies for your IELTS speaking. And as you know, there are three parts to your IELTS speaking. You have the introduction and interview, the individual long term, and finally the two-part, or even like the discussion. And for each of these parts, I will give you some very pragmatic strategies and tips to help you navigate your way to success. So as you can see in this photo, the whole IELTS speaking is just an interview, or the whole exam take a general interview form where you sit at a where you sit around a small table with the examiner alone and you have a discussion. Okay, so it has the full it embodies the everyday interview. And so because you're going to sit in such a close proximity, number one, and because you are attending an interview, generally speaking, it's very important that you make a good impression. Okay, make a good first impression. All right, it's very important that you make a good first impression. How do you do this? You do this in trying to do this. You have to look good. Okay, you don't just go anyway. You just have to look good. And somebody may ask, does this count? I mean, are any marks awarded for appearance? No, there isn't any mark for appearance. If you look at the assessment criteria, there is no such thing. However, going this way helps you yourself, because when you are in your best of words, or if you are in a dress you feel very comfortable in, or any outfit, it boosts your own confidence. And on the day, your demeanor, your confidence, how you feel within is what is going to give you that power to express yourself. So, and after all, don't forget that if you give any good first impression, you may get your examiner to be more lively with you, all right? And the examiner's demeanor, or the examiner's reaction towards you, how warm or easy they are with you, can go a long way to boost your morale, to give you the ability to express yourself easily without any tensions. Okay, you have to smell good also. That's a small table that you're going to sit around. So it's obvious to you why you have to smell good in terms of breath and any other way. Okay, lastly, you have to feel good about yourself, and if you're going to feel good about yourself, then you're going to have done all that is about. You have to look good, you have to smell good, and that's how you can really feel good. If you don't feel good, it's going to appear in your speech. You're not going to be able to perform really good. Okay, so we're still under the first part, or the part one, which is introduction interview, and here are some useful tips for you. Again, number two, as soon as you enter the exam room and you spot your examiner, you have to greet the person. Just don't go sit down, just greet the person. And when you have greeted them, do not sit down until you've been offered a seat. Now, once you're seated, please keep eye contact. Don't be looking elsewhere. Don't be looking over the shoulders of the examiner. Once in a while, you can do that, but for the most of the time, ensure that you're keeping eye contact with the examiner. Also, within the part one, part one is divided into introduction and interview. All right, and sometimes there is no clear cut indication that the examiner is moving from introductory questions to interviewing questions. They like interview questions. So um, the problem comes when a student or a candidate is unable to distinguish between the differences between introductory questions and interview questions. The fact is that your introductory questions demand very simple answers, short answers. On the contrary, questions which are asked in the interview demand elaborate answers. You have to speak at length. Apart from the introductory part, any other question asked you in your IELTS speaking would need you to be elaborate, all right? So let's see how we can differentiate between introductory questions and interview questions. First of all, questions in your introductory part is what we've dealt before in some previous videos, and I've said that it's basically questions about your name, where you come from, and whether you're a student or you work, okay? So when you have questions like why, what, it could be in the first few minutes in your entering, or in starting your your speaking session. Those questions are primarily introductory questions, trying to is examiner's way of trying to know a few things about you. Then when you hear tell me questions about, if you get a question like tell me about, it is obviously an interview question which would need elaborate answers. Okay, so let's compare the two questions we have here. Where do you come from is basically an introductory question, and tell me about where you come from will need elaborate answers. And tell me where you come from, I can just say I come from a Cameroon, Ashanti region, that's okay. But I can't do that and tell me about. I have to say every prominent, great thing about where I come from, which is worth telling. Okay, so that's one difference you can get between the two, But remember, there is no clear-cut indication that examiner is switching over from the introductory questions of part one to the interview questions of part one. But for the other sessions, you could see some indication that he or she's moved over to those other parts. Now, let's look at how to answer questions in general. In questions in part 1 and 3. Part 3 also is interview, and as interview, it takes, part 3 is a discussion which takes the form of the interview you go through in part 1. So the strategy to answering those questions really are the same. So first of all, you have to give for questions in these two parts, you have to give expanded, complete and creative answers. How do you do this? You do this by adding information. You have to provide additional information about whatever is it that you're saying. Like we told you, in order for you to be coherent, in order for you to be easily understood, you have to answer the questions directly. For instance, do you like cold water? Or do you prefer cold water to warm water? All right. I have to give a straightforward answer first. I should be able to tell the examiner that, yeah, I prefer cold water to warm water. But I shouldn't end there. If I end there, I'm not going to make any good score for answering that question that way. I have to continue by giving additional information. In what form? You give additional information by explaining yourself to the examiner as to why you like or you prefer cold water to warm water. How do you explain yourself? By giving reasons. Okay, give reasons why cold water is good, reasons why you don't prefer warm water. Okay, you can continue by citing data. If you have any research in your mind or any available data you can make reference to, you just go ahead and cite them. All right. You can also give examples, general examples to support your point. These examples should be why the thing is good or something like that. It depends on what question you get. All right. Then a better example to give in this context will be a personal experience. So almost all the time, personal experiences are preferable examples in your IELTS speaking. Speaking, and even in other ones like in your writing. Okay, so let's continue to part 2. These are strategies to deal with part 2. In your part 2, you are given a task to talk about for 2 minutes, as I've explained to you earlier. Now, for this 2 minutes task, you are given guidelines. For instance, the task is on a topic, perhaps talk about family, or talk about how family has changed in recent decades. Okay, now you are given a guideline, and the guideline will tell you what to say or what you must say within the 2 minutes about family. Okay, and sometimes there are 3, sometimes 4 list of things that you have to say or include in your essay. For instance, they could say, talk about how family used to be, how has family changed, and all of that. So you can follow this guideline by answering them one after the other, and that guides you to really give that 2-minute presentation. So that's the first strategy, going by the guideline approach. Okay, just go step by step according to guideline. Number 2, you can go step by step. Sorry, you can use what we call the IPPF strategy. This approach, in full, the I stands for introduction, the P is past, the second P is present, and F is future. So you talk about introduce the thing they say talk about. For instance, here is family. Before I go into the specificity, I can talk about family in general. The family is very necessary the world over, and that in every society, family is very much revered because it forms the basis of society. All right, so that's the introduction I've given to family. I can go ahead and talk about in the past, families used to be very large, but in our days, families are becoming smaller and smaller, and family will continue to be smaller going forward or into the future. So you see, by just doing this, I've had something to say or to kickstart my speaking. If I were dealing with a specific question, you would have known how I would have you would have seen how I would have fused them into this very strategy and to go about them well. I know that you would want to hear more, but this video is not meant to teach you the whole speaking in detail. It's just to give you some tips about it. All right. So if you want more, then you have to subscribe to Dreams Consult, and we will guide you through anything that you need to know to gain your required band score for whatever purpose you want to use IELTS for. So once again, my gratitude is to you for joining my class today. Have a lovely day.